okay? Really important to remember when you're deciding what it is you want to do. So let's talk about Amazon, because the majority of your sales is going to be through Amazon. They are the biggest book distributor in the world. They invented online book sales, basically. So, and Jeff Bezos, he just knows what to do. Anything he touches turns to gold, and they make millions of dollars. They're a global company, 12 major retail websites. And keep in mind, once your book is on Amazon, it's typically on all their websites throughout the world. So you can sell your book not only in the US, you can sell it in Europe, you can sell it in Australia, you can sell it in Japan, all around the world. If a self-publishing company, if that's what you're looking into, can't do that, then I would find one who can, because it's not that difficult to do, and self-publishing companies should be able to offer you that. They have over 88,000 employees worldwide. They control 10% of US e-commerce sales, which is just a huge chunk of change when you talk about internet sales. In 2008, they had over 19 billion, I'm sorry, 24 billion in 2009, 34 billion in 2010, 48 billion in 2011. It just keeps going crazy. And last year, or 2013, over $74 billion in sales. So, we distribute our books through a variety of networks and distributors, but by far, the vast majority of our revenue is derived from Amazon, just because of the enormity of that organization. So you had a question?
No.
Oh. And the bottom line here is, if your book is not on Amazon, you're losing sales. Your book has to and must be on Amazon. I don't really like Amazon because they are the biggest chef in town. They take the biggest chunk of change. Why? Because they can. So I don't like that. But at the same time, you have to have your book on Amazon, or you just won't sell any books.
But do you still have to market it yourself, because there's so many books there?
Absolutely. Having it for sale on Amazon is totally different from marketing. This is making your book available to millions and millions of people around the world. That's the first step. And once you have that, then you go about your business of marketing and promotion and directing them to there in order to then to buy the book.
How many books on Amazon for sale?
2 quadrillion, billion, million. I don't know. I don't even know if they know, honestly. I mean, I'm sure they do, but it is millions of books.
What percentage do they take?
Huh?
What percentage do they take?
They take typically 60%. 60% is their average, yeah. So, yeah, it reduces the amount of money in your pocket, but at the same time, it's the venue that will give you the largest number of sales. So it'll average out. For example, we sell through Barnes & Noble as well as Amazon. And Barnes & Noble, I don't know why we even use them, because the sales are so small compared to Amazon. It's really kind of crazy. But and even this, we see the same thing even with the ebooks. Our Kindle sales are way up here, and our Nook sales are way down here. And that's because Amazon has just marketed themselves to every generation possible, and made every generation available to purchase the book, whether they have a PC, a laptop, a tablet, a phone. You know, you download an app, order a book, and you get it 2 days later. Sometimes you can get it overnight if you really want to. And of course, ebooks you can download immediately from there. So they have set it up so that people can buy your book instantly. And that's where you want it. Now, they do take a good chunk of the change, but that just comes with the territory. So.
Could I follow up on one thing, which goes back to the distribution?
Mm-hmm.
Did I understand you that some self-publishers will do the distribution, in which case they would deal with Amazon for you?
Absolutely. That's what
whereas some will make you do it yourself. That
Right.
sounds sort of daunting.
Yeah. If you are looking into the self-publishing market, you really have to make sure you're shopping around, because there are self-publishers there that will just produce your book. Period, end of story, and make it available to you, usually at a discounted price, so that you can do whatever you want with the book. And everything is up to you. Getting it in Barnes & Noble, getting it on Amazon, getting it into distribution chains. That's kind of the low-grade self-publisher. If you want to work your way up the chain, for example, we provide full-scale distribution. We do all that for you. We get it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. We provide it to libraries, and so we have a wide distribution network. That comes from the fact that we do traditional publishing as well and already had those chains set up. So it really wasn't a big step for us to make that available to our self-published authors as well.
So there are different levels of distribution.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yes. And for example, I mean, one thing you'll want to do if you're going to do it yourself, you'll want to make sure that your book is in Ingram's and Ingram's International. Ingram's and Ingram's International distributes books all over the world. It makes your books available to bookstores, physical brick and mortar bookstores. And so if you want to have that available to them, you want to make sure your book is in Ingram's. And if you're going the self-publishing route, you're going to want to make sure that your self-publishing company will provide you with that distribution.
Is Ingram still asking for 75%?
I'm sorry?
Is Ingram still asking for 75%?
It had-
60% goes to the bookstores.
Right,
And
they have
keep
a-
the other 15.
They have a variable set up in there. You can choose which level of discount you want to provide. And of course, the downside is the lower the discount that you provide, the less likely a bookstore is going to want to order it and stock it. But you can actually choose. There are 3 or 4 different levels you can pick to establish the discount. So, yeah. Okay, did that answer your question enough?
Thanks.
Mhm. So the other place you're going to want to put your book, because people still do shop at Barnes & Noble and they still do have stores throughout the U.S., is Barnes & Noble. And I should mention that Barnes & Noble is different than barnesandnoble.com. They are owned by the same company, but barnesandnoble.com makes your book available to internet buyers all over the world, but putting it in the corner bookstore does not. And it's kind of weird because getting it in the corner bookstore is a heck of a lot harder than getting it on barnesandnoble.com. So if you think I'm pushing internet sales over physical bookstore sales, I am. Because one of the seminars we give is strictly about marketing books. And I tell folks, you know, don't go for the hard sell. And the hard sell is, and I had an author just ask me this in an email a couple weeks ago, what's the hard sell? I said the hard sell is breaking your neck trying to get your book in a Barnes & Noble brick and mortar store. Because they're very selective, and they cater to the large publishers. They're the ones that pay for the space to be in a Barnes & Noble store. And you have to jump through hoops and jump over hurdles and do this and that and promise your firstborn child to get your book on a bookstore shelf. And then maybe it'll only sell half a dozen copies. You know, so the amount of effort and the level of work required to get a book in the bookstore is not worth the sales that you're going to get off of it. You're going to get a much better return through internet venues such as Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. So that's the bottom line there. And I tell folks when they say, when I start my marketing, where do I want to send folks? Send them to Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Send them online. That's where you're going to get your better return. For us, we have sales directly through our website as well. And that provides the highest return for authors. I say if you want to have them direct them to our website and purchase it directly from the publisher, you'll get the even higher return than you will through the wholesale distributors. Okay. So it's reasonably easy to list on barnesandnoble.com, but not so easy to get into the physical bookstores, but not impossible. Again, if you go to the Barnes & Noble and you go to the manager and say, I'm a local author, would it be possible for you to stock a few copies of my book? A lot of them will say, sure, we'll do it. We'll stock a few copies and we'll see what happens. But then there are others, because Barnes & Noble is a corporate entity, they have their guidelines as to what they are going to carry and stock on their store shelves. And so, there are some managers who will toe the line when it comes to the corporate the guidelines, and they will not venture outside the box and incorporate any local things. So, but a lot of them will, and they'll put a few copies on the shelf, local interest or special authors or whatever, and you can always check that out and see if that works for you.
I've been outside of self-publishing my own work for a couple of decades, and it was when some of these were just coming on board.
Mhm.
Is there still this third option called, I don't care about your contract, you're gonna have customers, they're gonna want my book, and I'm gonna make whatever deal I darn well please with you because you have to satisfy your customer orders? Is that still available?
With bookstore managers or with?
The .coms and with the bookstore managers?
Not so much, not so much. I mean, there's no issues really with regards to sales expectations when getting it listed on Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com, none.
When customers come asking them for this particular book because they have the ISBN number.
I
And
see.
they want to fulfill because
I see what you're saying,
I want my
yeah.
customer to come to me for everything, so, okay, I'm gonna call up this publisher, and it's, let's make a deal.
Right.
Is it still?
No. Number one, folks that go into Barnes & Noble and ask for a particular book, and I've had a number of authors do this, they go into a Barnes & Noble and they give them the ISBN, and Barnes & Noble's look into their computer. We have no record of your book doesn't exist. And they're like, no, it was just published, it's got to be out there, and they say no. The reason is because there's a Barnes & Noble computer system, and within that system there's access to other distributors such as Ingram's International, and various other ones. So the first thing they always go to look to is the Barnes & Noble distribution system. And 9 times out of 10 it's probably not going to be in there unless the publisher did something to put it in there or the author did something to put it in there. It's just not going to, because 99% of it is controlled by the large publishers. So you have to specifically say to the store person, look in your Ingram system. At which point they flip a button, they go to the Ingram system, they put in